Hello. Hello, everybody. Hello. Hello.
Hump day.
Hump day. Hey,
Damn it.
Hello, family.
so in our investigations, we noticed something. Um, the RFK files are not dumped fully yet, nor are the JFK sequestered files. But the MLK files were dropped, so that's what we covered. So we
Yeah.
are going to go over some stuff, and then once it drops, we'll come back to it. To see if we were correct, because I have a suspicion we will be anyway, but you never know. Well, we do have some files that they weren't private, but I don't think many people looked into it. So we're going a little bit into that, what certain informants said. We'll be looking at a particular video to show exactly the discrepancies between what we were told from the get-go to what is actually on film. And then we'll kind of play it by ear after that. You're going to say?
Marlon, can you give me a TLDR of what you've already covered so far?
Nothing on JFK.
Okay,
Just
nothing on
MLK.
JFK. So this is
MLK.
JFK today.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So YouTube, let me talk to you real quick. YouTube, not the YouTube company, people on YouTube. The video we're gonna show, we can't show on YouTube.
Of
Sorry.
course.
Yeah.
Because what'll end up happening is it will get us a strike, and if we have any hope of getting monetized, it's gone. So I think we are like we already had one major strike, and if we played this video, it would definitely be a second strike. And having only one in the chamber, I'm not too keen on Russian roulette. Okay, so we're just not
Fair.
gonna do it. So if you want to see what we got on JFK's, jump on over to Rumble or on X. If you don't like Rumble, go over to X, and watch it there. Or YouTube Facebook might keep it up. We'll see. I might get a strike.
He did make the promise to us saying that they were going to take stuff down.
So. Well, we'll see.
See. And if you don't know where our Rumble channel is, just go to our YouTube page. If you click the top where the banner is at, it'll take you over to a little option where you'll see all our channels, our store, and everything else. So,
in fact, let me do this real quick
for the people that are new to the channel.
Yeah. So let's help them out real quick. I'm gonna show them. If you go to our page, this is our page on YouTube, okay? And then if you go to more, you'll see it right there.
Yeah.
Kablam.
And okay? if you're looking for the X one, I can send it into the chat real quick.
Let's see if I can bring it up here. Oh, okay. Yes, I can bring it up here. Here is us right now on X, okay? In fact, we only have 105 followers right now. 58 followers. We're following 105 pages, but y'all need to go over there and follow us on X, because we need to get that one pumping up too. So go check us out here. The Savage Patriots on X. Aight, cool.
Yeah.
So, now we're going to cover a few things before we get to the video. One of them is a couple of the audio files that have dropped on the case prior to, in terms of the people around JFK. There'll be a tape that I think Mike and I are in opposing thought processes on this. One of the tapes I think is AI. He does not. At least he doesn't have a full conclusion. I believe 1,000,000% it's AI, but that's just me. So we're going to play one here. And this is an audio of a conversation had by people who are privy to the assassination.
Good to see you. How's life treating you today? Well, Saul, it's been a pretty touch and go situation. Linda and I have had quite a few unpleasant words here lately over the deal that he hired Mike Wallace to assassinate the president. It's been hectic in every way, but we've lived through this far. I guess we'll continue to do so.
What back? Okay, I didn't hear that right. Did you hear that right?
No. Did you play it again?
I'm gonna have to listen to that a second time, because there's no way he could have said that on film and Really, there's no way. No way you could have said that. Is that the it has? Okay, I'm going to play it again. Listen carefully, folks.
Sure good to see you. How's life treating you today? Well, Saul, it's been a pretty touch and go situation. Linda and I have had quite a few unpleasant words here lately over the deal with that he hired Mike Wallace to assassinate the president.
Did he say Wallace?
Mike Wallace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Huh.
That LBJ hired Mike Wallace to assassinate Kennedy. Now, I had heard that before. Now, y'all have probably not seen this guy. Maybe you have. There's an inmate that said he was part of the coalition that was sent to one of the many shooters that was sent to assassinate JFK. And what he was describing was that there were many involved, I think he said there were 3 shooters, but not shooters that were meant to shoot. It was just him. He was the only one that was supposed to shoot as a and then it eventually became there was one guy that was supposed to, and if he missed, this guy was supposed to pick up the slack. So he mentioned Mike Wallace before as being part of the shakedown. So that's not necessarily full-on news, but to hear people back in the day say it,
that's a little crazy.
Now this one, I'm not sold on as being AI. This one's on Alex, right? This was on Alex Jones.
Yeah. That's on Alex Jones, and like it's one of those ones you could take it with a grain of salt, but at the same time, there's a lot of times when Alex sounded crazy that's been right. So I wouldn't take it as
100%.
It might be and it might not be, but it's more than likely be.
Yeah, I believe it.
Let me see what else they say. Huh?
It's been
hectic in every way.
But we've lived through this far. I guess we'll continue to do so. Lyndon should have never issued that order to Mike. But we've had our differences, and I'm a true blue to Lyndon.
Wow. Okay.
So I've always been to try to carry out every order that he's ever given me.
I'm true blue to Lyndon, and I've made sure to carry out every order he's ever given to me.
That's crazy.
Wow.
Jeez.
I'm sitting here just kind of, I'm stunned. I'm shooketh.
And for years, I mean, us truthers knew the truth. We knew the story that we were given about the Kennedy assassination. Something was off. You know, the people that are truthers.
Yeah.
But for us to hear it, you know, to me, it's insane. You know that they just said it just like that on a phone call. Like, yeah, you know, hey, I had to do the order. I have a true blue too. What?
Okay.
It's
Go ahead.
It's one of those things. Is like everybody pretty much at this point in time, everybody knows that the government or somebody in the government was responsible for the assassination of Kennedy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's not even within a doubt now that somebody had him killed. Like everybody believes he was killed and for a reason. So the fact that that happened and there's nobody that's ever been held to account to that, or the fact that we lived through an actual coup of the United States and nobody talks about it, like it's just some whatever thing conspiracy theory, which is where this is where the original term of conspiracy theorist comes from.
Right.
Yeah. This
right.
thing.
But we had to wait until now because now everybody's dead, so it doesn't matter.
Well, technically,
not everybody.
Technically, but the party,
Yeah.
party can indeed be held. Now, what's surprising for me, people listen, I look, I'm in shock as much as anybody else, and I kind of understood most of this. But here's the thing. It bears to acknowledge that LBJ was exactly the kind of person we thought. My original take on him was they did not want, and I'm not talking about the moral compass of JFK. Okay, I'm not talking about his personal life.
Yeah,
I'm talking about his political stance was completely opposite of the Democrat Party. Today, he would have been viewed as a Republican. Okay. or at
Yeah.
least a mid-range Republican, a little slight left-leaning, but right.
Libertarian.
And what LBJ was a staunch, hang you by the rope, pointy hat type of Democrat.
Southern Democrat, yeah.
Southern to the point of no return. And so for him to issue this, I can easily see why. Because here's the thing: if your party is on the, and have to remember the time frame, your party is now on the brink of disaster because it's falling away. You're losing your grip on the same people that you were hoping to keep under your thumb. The Republicans started to gain some pressure on you. Blacks were starting to walk away from your plantation. You had to do something to drag them back. At that time, JFK was in the way. So I can understand why LBJ would do it. I fully get the reasonings behind him doing it. As for him and his people being able to just speak about it willy-nilly tells you two things. They were happy about it. And two, they knew they would not get in any sort of legal trouble.
That's the crazy part.
They were free to talk about it.
And they weren't expecting the amount of technology that we have now. No, back then they weren't thinking about in the future they're going to have this thing called the internet and they're going to be able to pull up these files. You know, back then it's probably like this dang phone call is just going to be gone eventually, and they're not going to know anything about it. But in the digital world we have now, everything's forever.
The most surprising and hubris thing that the establishment ever did was not burning the files in the first place. Because, like, realistically, if you instigated the assassination of a president of the United States, you would think you would not want to keep that on a record somewhere, right?
You would think.
You would think. Like, I say this all the time: don't record crimes on the internet. Obviously, don't record crimes in the files at the CIA. Would probably be a good idea.
Just don't record files. Don't record the crimes. Period. It'll be okay.
If you're gonna commit a crime, don't record it and don't write it down. Don't put it in an email. Don't put it anywhere except in your brain. That's it.
That's just. I'm sitting here. I'm pretty baffled right now at this. Like I really am. Like I'm shocked.
Man.
But I don't think I should be. I really shouldn't be because I should be aware that this stuff was something that they had no problem doing. And man, wow.
And you know, we're not shocked because again, you got to think of the time frame we're in. We all know that the government has hitmen out there. We know this is nothing new. So when you look back then, you're kind of like, and you look at now, you're like, I can actually see them doing it. But back then, do you really think the people back then in that time would think that their own government would take out the president of the United States?
Yeah, well, because they trusted their government.
Yes.
Yeah. And considering the fact that it was in a time where there was like Korean War, Vietnam War, the hippie movement.
Yeah.
Also, this was during the moment of the sexual revolution that was taking place culturally. I mean, America was in a very mentally unstable place. And so for somebody like JFK to then all of a sudden lose the notion of Camelot, and it's the government that does this, that would have been the straw that broke the camel's back, and I don't know what would have happened.
If it would have been a fracturing for sure. Like, I think without a doubt, it probably would have fractured the country if they came to learn that their government killed their president.
All right, so let's listen to the rest of this thing here. That's crazy.
But this is one I'll probably never be able to forget. In the times that we've had in Texas, and the embarrassment that Lyndon had gotten from Kennedy, I guess there wasn't anything else to do but what he did. Well, you know, Lyndon could have really hit me if he would. Well, Lyndon's the kind of person that doesn't want to help anyone. He's all for Lyndon, and that's the way he's pretty much always been. Well, they had me backed up on that Henry Marshall killing, and they just kind of blackmailed me to keep my mouth shut. And if I hadn't had a bunch of tapes that I played after he got killed, because, 17 got killed. in this situation very mysteriously. And I've done a lot of time, and I've lost a lot of money, and hurt my family a whole lot. And it's really got me disgusted with Lyndon in one way. In one way, I feel real sorry for him.
That is cray.
Yeah. And to Rachel's question, we would consider, you know, Kennedy kind of in the middle, more like a libertarian.
Yeah,
more like a libertarian today.
Or a blue dog Democrat is what I was thinking. More like the people that voted for Reagan in the 80s would probably be what you would more into. But it's also the thing of, it's insane because, like, back to Jay's point, it's like you got to think at the time that happened. This is also the same time that they were experimenting on civilians and their own people with MK Ultra, which we've already previously covered. Right? They were doing all kinds of nefarious and shady things to people in secret, let alone overtly taking out the president of the United States. So if they were willing to experiment on people in private institutions, you don't think they weren't capable of assassinating the president or doing what they already had been doing during the Cold War, which was killing Russians? Right? Like, it's not far-fetched.
But I would venture to say that in the time that we're talking about contextually, like, everybody was either split between this whole the hippie free love movement where they didn't have a care in the world. So president get killed and whatever, experimentation and whatever. That's kind of sort of the laissez-faire hippie mentality that was going on back then. So I don't think it really mattered to them.
I've also heard theories that the entire hippie movement was actually started by the CIA in order to distribute LSD for testing.
I can see. This is what I can see. This is what I can see. I don't think they distribute the same way. I don't think that they distributed crack into the black neighborhoods. I think what they did was they found a way to make it accessible. While at the same time saying it was criminal, but make it so accessible that they can say, we're just going to turn an eye. They're just crazy. They don't know what they're doing, or just act like it's not there. And at the same time implementing, and they have, because they have to look, MK Ultra, they have to make it look organic. They can't leave such a trail that you can go back and visually see this is when and when and when. We knew they used LSD since after the World War. Since one, they've been using it. So it's not like it's an anomaly, but to get it out into the public, you have to make it to where you say it's a psychedelic for you to escape the problems of your life. But at the same time, they know what the measure it was used for prior to. So I'm not going to say that they didn't dump it, but I didn't say they instigated the movement of it. But I just think they just made it more accessible to people.
Do you think that the Beatles had something to do with popularizing the usage of it?
I'd blame Pink Floyd more than anybody. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, Pink Floyd.
Jim Morrison,
Grateful Dead.
Yeah, but there's just a lot of things that happened during the 60s that were very questionable in terms of the government. They were doing a lot of things that were questionable, especially like we gotta analyze this thing here. It's like we're talking the end of World War II, going into the Korean War, then the major Cold War with the Soviets at the time, and they were desperate for a lot of things. And I don't know what they were desperate about other than
power.
Keeping power. That was it.
Power. Yeah, power and resources.
Those two things are crazy. Those are crazy incentives.
Yeah.
Yep.
Those are crazy incentives. Look, and at the same time, you have to understand that this particular theory, because they pushed the whole crazy people thing, you get a good combo. You're crazy probably because you're on LSD, or you're crazy because you can't trust the government.
Yep.
It really wasn't until Reagan popped out that, you know, you never trust the government. When they say never trust them, when they say I'm from the government, I'm here to help. He was one of the very first few to say it from a position of power. And I think that's also why they offed him, by the way. I didn't say all his policies were good. I'm not saying that. However, when they tried to off him, I think that's why, you know. So the thing about the whole issue here is they're trying to make it normal when they do something nefarious.
Yep.
You're not going to question them. It's always some rogue agent. And if you watch, he always acted alone. Every time you hear them say he acted alone, lie. Lie.
Yeah, no.
He didn't act alone. You know full well. If you have to tell me that, then something's up.
Yeah, here's a good example of that. Go ahead, Mike. Sorry.
And the thing is, it's like you notice all these lone shooters or these lone assassins. Always have a manifesto, some pre-written up manifesto about how they hated the government. And it's always the same playbook. But again, it's getting to the point to where people are starting to question it. And that's the beauty about today's age right now, is that more people are questioning a lot of these lone assassins with their manifestos that they just happen to find. You know, he had a manifesto on his desk with a big green lamp on it and a red button, and it said manifesto right here. You know, they just find this stuff.
Yeah.
So,
Michael, he also had Catcher in the Rye underneath his bed.
There you go.
Yeah.
Presto for manifesto.
Yeah.
But here's an example.
He had a map leading us to the manifesto that he left in the post office, that it was supposed to be mailed to the sheriff. And he said, manifesto is right here under this mattress.
Like just written on it.
Just like, come on, dude.
So good example of this is the Gretchen Whitmer. Actually, that's a better name.
Yeah.
So Gretchen Whitmer, right? And that whole plot turns out to be a bunch of FBI agents trying to get a couple of people to do the thing in the first place, right? So, like, it's not out of the realm of possibility that there's been a bunch of entrapment operations from the FBI to justify their job existing, right? And they arrested a bunch of people trying to do nefarious things that they started in the first place.
I mean, J6.
It's been the operation of the government, especially the shadow section of the government, and you can say there's no such thing. Be stupid. That's your choice. You want to be that way. I'm not stopping you from being a moron. That's on you. However, the shadow side of the government has a propensity to do things and claim everything that you see is crazy if you see it.
Yep.
Yeah.
With this JFK thing, we've been saying it from day one that it was weird. The timing was weird. The event was weird. Why he was driving as slow as he was, and why there was the amount of security was absolutely limited. Everything about it screamed setup. Everything. And then when we do get to the video that we're going to show you and the breakdown, we're gonna see a little bit out of it. You might get to see a little bit of why we think it was more than a setup. It was so well orchestrated that I don't think they could have failed at this one as much as they tried to with Trump.
We can also compare this with the Trump shooter, right? We literally know nothing about that kid, even though all these points of failure happen all at the same exact time with no malice behind it. They just happen to have all these failures at various points throughout the day to make it happen. And it's not weird. And that we're conspiracy theorists for calling attention to it. Yeah. Your mic's out.
He's got to wait. He'll count down.
So this one's another audio file, right? And what's gonna fall is it's 2 in 1. I put them together, and there'll be one after it that's supposedly, this is one I say it might be AI, LBJ on talking to Jackie. Okay, but we'll listen to the first one first, and then we'll get to the Jackie one.
But I really feel like that in Lyndon's heart, he felt like that he was doing the right thing. He felt like that he was the savior of the common man. I feel like that in his heart he wanted to help people that hurt not. But I don't believe that anything, my church background would have never let me sanction all the killings that he has done. What do you think about it, Cliff? Do you really believe that it could have been handled anyway without killing all these people and got rid of the Kennedys? You think he's the one that elected against him?
You hear that?
Getting rid of the Kennedys.
Of the Kennedys.
Yep.
Multiple
ones.
Wow.
Now here's a question. Are the same people that were behind the so-called exit of Junior?
Yes.
You got rid of brother, you got
Probably.
rid of president. Why not get rid of the kid too?
Yep. I agree. They were.
It makes sense if you're trying to get rid of the family, because he didn't say just one of them. He wanted all of them gone.
All.
And you remember how they had talked about that Kennedy curse, how all the Kennedys were going out in these crazy ways. You know, JFK shot, RFK shot, Junior plane crash, or what was the other brother that died in a ski accident, you know, and they were just going out in these weird ways, and they called it the Kennedy curse. Now, outside the ski accident, you can say the other ones weren't a curse; those were planned.
Yeah, that's like my joke about, you know how celebrities always die in threes, right? I used to joke that it was a serial killer going around killing these celebrities, and he only did it 3 at a time. It's like that, but like it's real. Like this is really happening. These people wanted the Kennedys gone.
Yeah, bad news comes in threes too, right?
Yep.
That's what they say. So they look. I have no idea what exactly the Kennedys could have known, but if you look how they're treating Robert right now, that might give you an inference of how they handle things. Just a thought, food for thought. Look at how they're handling current and you'll see exactly that they do have a really tough, especially the Democrats. They really hate the Kennedys. Like, I mean,
well, except Marlon, look how the rest of the family acted when RFK went out of line.
Right.
Yeah, except for the ones that agree with them.
Yeah, exactly. That's the most indicative thing to me, showing that they had them under control. Once they bent the knee, they're like, okay, we'll leave you alone.
That is crazy.
Because if you think of it like that, once he went off the reservation, basically, or he went out of the plantation, he was persona non grata now.
Yeah,
that's crazy. Let's see what else he says.
Well, I don't really believe so. You know, he tried desperately to do just that, and there didn't seem to be any other way. I know that he regrets a lot of things that he has done, but still, it's been a battle from day one.
Now, let's break down some scenarios here. So, you have a moderate, almost not Democrat in Kennedy.
Yeah.
And he is trying to do what we've been trying to tell you that he was aiming for, was to bring back the original concept of the civil rights bill. One of the very first iterations of it. That wasn't going to fly with what the Democrats had in mind. The Democrats had in mind to dumb down and to limit the educational status of a Negro in America. That was always their plan. If you keep them stupid, you can keep them controlled. You don't see that change today. So all that party switch crap that y'all talk, y'all can shove it. Because the same Democrat talk from then is the same Democrat talk. They can't get no ID. They can't do this. They can't. Because they genuinely believe that Negroes are the stupidest people on earth.
Yep.
The Democrat Party is the only party that think the black man is the dumbest person. Stupid from birth to death. That's what they believe. You can't be better than anybody else. Whites are better than you. They have a supreme virtue over you. They say that. Nobody else does. They do. And so when you have that kind of mindset and a person that says that you, a Democrat, and they want to flip that, you can't have that. You cannot have that. Now, LBJ wants to go completely with it. So what do? You got to get rid of the one person standing in your way. And if the whole family that's coming up thinks the same way, what do you have to do? Get rid of the family too.
And also, Marlon, JFK was trying to do the same thing that Trump is doing now by exposing the deep state, the secret societies, and all this stuff that's going on behind the scenes with the shadow government. He was trying to expose it, and that's another reason they took him out.
And
you were saying,
just to go on your point, is listen how they talk about the illegals, right? Well, who's going to pick your cotton if you get rid of the slaves?
Thank you. Right.
Perfect example.
Who's going to do all the cheap labor if we get rid of the slaves? You know what I mean? Like, because that's how they're sounding like. Is like, hey, if we get rid of all these people, who's going to watch my kids? That slave in the back can't do it anymore. You know, like I gotta keep the illegals here so they can do it cheaper.
Who's going to wash your bathrooms, Donald Trump? Remember that statement back a few years ago?
Yeah. Who's going to clean your toilet?
But didn't, if I remember, I'm trying to find it, but didn't JFK said specifically that he was trying to expose all of the secret shadow side of the government?
Yes,
I remember seeing
he was going to get rid of the CIA too.
Yes.
Yeah, and he gave that speech, and then a few days, I forget, it was shortly after that when he was assassinated. Yeah.
So history bears proving that this is exactly why they wanted him gone. This is why they also hate Trump. They hate Trump because he affiliated himself with the Kennedys.
Yeah.
He was close friends. So if you think about it this way, if you now see the man that was with them trying to get into power, to do almost the exact same thing that the person you killed was trying to do, wouldn't you try to off him too?
Absolutely.
Yep.
And destroy the family. That's what that look. It's the plot is working well. It had worked well until they failed, and then he got in, and then they really upped the ante, and then whoop, it failed again. Now he's in. I'm gonna make a prediction just off to the side here that they're gonna double their efforts after he leaves, or try and end him fully, and then go after the kids.
Maybe
They're gonna make an attempt on the family.
I was gonna say they tried to do it, but then they hired all these DEI hires, and so they couldn't get a good assassin again. They had to get a they them.
I just don't get it. I just don't get it, honestly.
Not after Trump's Secret Service detail during the assassination attempt. Oh gosh!
Like, even with all the DEI policies, they still can get it right.
So this is the one I say might be a fake. This is just me. Okay, y'all can listen for yourself and decide. I just don't know if I can believe this particular phone call took place. I'm not saying it didn't. I'm not saying it's fully fake. Just to me, I don't think it's real. All right, that's my disclaimer. Here you go.
Okay.
Hello?
Hello?
Jackie,
Mr. President?
I love you.
Aren't you sweet? Where are you?
You just skipped away from this town. I ought to have had you arrested.
But I was so mad at myself.
Yeah, well, you ought to be mad. You almost made me mad at you leaving without coming by and hugging me and telling me goodbye.
Yeah, but did you get my note?
Yes, I did. And
I talked to Lady Bird. I got so stupid.
well, I miss you, and I'm thinking of you, and I know your Christmas won't be what it ought to be, but I wish that I could make it happier. When I got ready to go to home for my Christmas, the Congress just said they'd spank me and hit me right in the face and wouldn't let me go, and that's the way I want to do you next time if you don't tell me goodbye.
Oh, listen, as soon as you get back, I'll come and get a vitamin B shot from Dr. Travell.
Won't you do that? Won't you do that?
Yeah.
Thank you, honey.
Yeah.
Bye.
I ain't even going to ask what the vitamin D shot was, but anyway.
I was thinking the same.
But no, I was gonna say, it's like where did they even get that from? Like kind of things. Like where?
That's
was that
why I'm
at?
saying
Like,
I don't know that it's real.
Yeah.
The vitamin D shot? I don't know.
who recorded it? Where did it come from? Yeah, that's weird. That's weird.
You know, I would think as the president of the United States, most of your calls are recorded.
Yeah,
You
that's
know.
if he made that from the Oval Office.
Yeah, if he made it from the Oval, everything is recorded. Every single call. Yeah. And then you can classify him or declassify him. That's what the president has the authorization to do. You can make every phone call classified and declass. So this is probably one of those phone calls that was classified. Now that it got declassed, they leaked the phone call because they never thought it would come out.
I don't know. That one's a little bit harder for me to believe. No, I understand that it could easily be a movement of type for LBJ because he wasn't he was a dirty individual. However, the banter seems to be rushed. He talked a lot faster than he normally talked when he was recorded. There are just certain things I'm not saying he couldn't say the stuff that he said to Jackie. I'm not saying no. But you'd have to think this. You wouldn't think that Jackie slightly, maybe perhaps thought that LBJ had a hand in this thing? You really think she would just be so nonchalant to him on the phone?
Yeah, and I agree. If you go back to when JFK was getting inaugurated on a plane after Kennedy's assassination, and Jackie was still in her bloody jacket, and she was standing there, and they was swearing in LBJ, you could see in her face. I think she knew.
Yeah,
she knew something.
Yeah,
I just don't know if that would be feasible for her to talk the way she spoke to him about. Oh, I'm sorry, I left without saying goodbye and giving you a hug and a kiss, and I'd come by and see you. Environment. I don't know. I don't know. However, again, I'm always open to be wrong. I'm not saying that LBJ is not capable of speaking to people like that, especially after doing what he did to people. Not surprised at all because he was two-faced to everybody. And that's like the first call said, he's about LBJ. He's not about anybody else. And it bore out in his policies. Okay, so let's not get this twisted. I'm not saying it couldn't be him. I'm just saying from the way it sounded, hard pressed for me to believe it. So for those of you on YouTube, we're going to now get to the nitty of the gritty. And what the film you're going to see is a comparison of the movie that they did with Jackie and actual footage of the assassination. which is why we can't show it to you on YouTube.
Mhm.
So I'm going to give you just 2 minutes to jump off of YouTube and, you know, get over to Rumble or to X and watch it from there. But if we play it on YouTube, you can say goodbye to the YouTube channel, and we don't really want that because I think I'm still holding out hope for them to monetize us one day still on that thing. Okay, so just sorry. So come on over to Rumble, come on over to X, go over to my Facebook, 1, 2, or 3 of them, and we'll have a conversation over there. You get to see the video. So I'm taking off YouTube now. Okay. So just so you know, remove.